Good day everyone. We are group 3 and we're going to discuss road signs and pavement marking. In this discussion, we're going to tackle 3 topics, which is road signs, and then the second one is regulatory signs, and the third one is warning signs. For the contents of our presentation, we utilize the manual from the Department of Public Works and Highways, which is the Highway Safety Design Standards Part 2, the Road Signs and Pavement Markings Manual. So let us start. So traffic signs and road signs are essential tools for safety and efficient driving. And then a well-designed sign system guides, warns, and informs driver exactly when and where they need it. So the question is, why is uniformity matters? So when signs follow consistent colors, fonts, shapes, and placements, the drivers instinctively understand their meaning without delay and without confusion. So when installing a sign, or when are we going to install a sign? So signs should only be placed after a careful field studies. So engineers evaluate traffic volume, roadway geometry, crash history, and sight distance to determine whether a sign is necessary and where it should go to be most effective. Let us now move to the authority of installation. So, traffic signs or road signs must only be erected or installed with the express of authorization by or of the DPWH secretary or other designated authorized personnel. And these signs should exclusively regulate, warn, and guide other drivers. So these signs should not have any promotional content or non-traffic related informations. So the installation of any unofficial, non-standard, or privately placed signs along national roads or the rights of way by individuals or organization is strictly forbidden. For the definition of terms, first we have traffic signs. So traffic signs are or can usually be seen on the side of the streets or on the side of the road. So they are basically roads of warning or direction to the motorists, drivers, and pedestrians, and are having or often have different kinds of shapes. Next is we have regulatory signs, which are traffic signs that informs drivers of traffic laws and regulations that must be followed. So regulatory signs are designed to control traffic behavior. Next is we have special instruction signs, which instructs to meet certain traffic rule requirements or road conditions. Next will be warning signs. So we are familiar with warning signs. So they are designed to warn and alert people to potential hazard and dangerous conditions. That allows them to be cautious and take necessary precautions. Next will be guide signs. So guide signs, they provide information to help drivers navigate and find their ways. Next, we have roadwork signs. So roadwork signs used to alert drivers of an area where a construction and maintenance is taking place. So next is we have overhead signs. So these are typically used to display information such as lane designations, upcoming exits, and speed limits, and etc. Next, we have barriers. So barriers serves to guide traffic around construction zone, inform drivers of potential hazard, and designate areas where access is restricted. Next is we have flashing lamps. So flashing lamps are warning devices and used to aid other controls and devices necessary to alert drivers of the construction and maintenance activities. Next will be delineators. So these are devices designed to guide drivers by marking road edges, lanes, and curbs. Next, we have traffic cones, which we're familiar of and have seen a lot of times on the street, so they help direct vehicles and pedestrians safely around construction zones, accidents, and road hazards. Next will be temporary curbing, which is used to guide traffic at the construction site. And lastly, we have flexible post or bowler, which are used primarily on the road or roadworks to delineate or create a new temporary lane. Moving on to the classification of signs. So we have five classification signs that will be discussed later on. So first we have the regulatory signs, which is the type R. Next is the warning signs, which is type W, and then guide signs of informative signs, which is type G, and then signs for special purposes, which is type S, and then hazard markers, which is type HM. So for the standard application of road signs, so uniform application of road signs is just as essential as having a standard design and placement. So consistency ensures that if drivers see a familiar sign, then they automatically or immediately know what to do. So we have 5 basic requirements. First is fulfill a need. So only install signs where it is required and if it is needed. So such as warning of hazards, regulating of speed, and guiding traffic. Second is we have command attention. So sign must stand out. So it should have proper size, clear placement, and visible positioning so the drivers notice them in time. Next, and the third one is convey a clear and simple message. So the use of concise wordings or icons is very necessary. So overloading a sign of information can confuse or delay a driver's reaction. So fourth will be the command respect. So proper use of authoritative colors, shapes, and symbols ensures drivers take the instructions seriously. Lastly, give adequate time for proper response. So signs must be placed far enough in advance of the situation they warn about. So drivers have enough time to respond safely, whether slowing down and turning or stopping. Next will be the design. So uniform sign designs helps road users easily identify signs. So standardizing elements like colors, shape, size, legends, and lighting ensures clear recognition of different sign types. So here are the following general design principles that is involved or have involved. So first we have traffic signs should not distract drivers. So since Filipino legends are often longer, they are generally avoided unless absolutely necessary and helpful. And then traffic signs should be designed to perceive and understood by drivers traveling at the 80th percentile speed, allowing sufficient time for them to safely take unnecessary action. So under design, we have first shape. So first in line, we have the shape octagon. So the shape octagon is exclusively for the stop sign. Next is the equilateral triangle with 1 point vertical downward. So I'll be showing images of these shapes that corresponds to what signs they should be used. So again, the equilateral triangle with 1 point vertically downward is reserved for the giveaway sign. Next is the circle. The shape circle is used for the regulatory signs. It is sometimes mounted on the rectangular base either for easy recognition or for additional information. Next is we have equilateral triangle but with 1 point vertically upward. So this equilateral triangle with 1 point vertically upward is used for warning signs. Next, we have the rectangle with its long axis is horizontal. So this is for directional signs, service signs, roadward signs, signs for special purposes, and supplementary place for warning signs. And then next, again, we have rectangle with long axis vertical. So it is for facility information signs, instruction signs, and guide signs, and also this destination signs of point of interest. And lastly, we have pentagon with point up. So this is for the pedestrian and school crossing sign. So again, we have here the stop sign for the octagon, and then the give way sign, which has the equilateral triangle with one point vertically downward. And then we have here the circle, which are used for the regulatory signs. And then we have here another equilateral triangle, but on a upward position. And then a rectangle with vertical, with its axis vertical, this with the merging traffic sign. And then we have another rectangle with long axis horizontal, which states slow down accident prone area. And then lastly, we have the pentagon with point up, which is for pedestrian and school crossing sign. Under design, we have sign sizes, or basically the size. So minimum dimensions depends on the application, but for roadways and on high-speed facilities, they require larger sizes. So next is the color. So we have here first the red. So basically, red is used for stop signs, and then border colors for giveaway signs, warning signs, and prohibitive signs in the regulatory type. Next is black, which is usually and primarily used as a legend color for having white, yellow, orange, fluorescent yellow, green background, and as a chevron for hazard markers. And then again, we have yellow, which is used as a background for roadwork signs, and white, which is the background color for most of the signs, and legends for some colored background. Next, we have fluorescent yellow green, which is usually used as a background color for signs related to pedestrians, school zones, and road work hazard markers to give additional emphasis and guidance to vehicle operators. So from the previous slide, I've showed you examples of signs under the topic shape. So I have shown there school zone and school zone crossing signs, which has a fluorescent yellow-green background. So that is the example of the color fluorescent yellow-green sign, or color, background color used. So next is we have fluorescent orange, which is used as a background color for, again, roadwork signs whose legends relate to personal working. Next is we have green, which is used as background color for direction signs, and then blue used as background color for the service signs, and lastly brown, which is reserved as background color for all the tourist facility directional and information signs. For the letter series, we have 4. First is series A and B, next is series C, third is series D and E, or E modified, and then series F. So series A and B, they are not used for signs viewed by the moving vehicles due to poor legibility. And then for series C, they are only used in special cases. For Series D and E or E modified, they are preferable. It is because of their clarity and appearance. And then for Series F, it is rarely used on large signs because it requires a large amount or too much space. So, lowercase letters always use wide spacing, and in sign size tables, abbreviation indicate the letter series A to F or LC and spacing. So, we have here the spacing, so we use N for narrow, and then M for medium, and then we have W for wide. So, for letter size selection, it is very necessary or it is necessary to use standard sizes for common sign types. But for special signs such as expressways and major highways or unique conditions, we may refer to Section 7 of the Appendix A, Guidelines for Design of Made-to-Measure Guide Signs. It is found on the manual that we use, which is the book 2. Now for the use of symbols. So a symbol is an important element of a sign since it helps the drivers reduce their reading time, and it increases legibility distance. So if there are any symbols made or created, it must follow international standards and approved design procedures. Next is the sign face design. So we have here the guidelines. So first, cramping of legends should be avoided, and then the distribution of blank area should be even across the panel. And then for the dual lists, left justifies the left list, and then the right justifies the right. And then lastly, the sizes of the arrows or symbols used may be larger than the text for the purpose of clarity. And then we have here the minimum sign face requirement. So first is the legend type and size. So you can see here the example. And then next is the details of arrows, symbols, and route markers. And then the dimension of all elements and spacing, positioning of each character on the sign, specification for borders, edge, strips, and materials, and then lastly, the color and material class of the sign face. So you can find this on the same manual that we use under the appendices. Now for the use of Filipino worded signs. So, unless necessary or if it's absolutely necessary and beneficial, you can use Filipino legends, but it is not recommended because it requires more space due to the longer word equivalents. So, I guess that ends my part. I will now give the floor to the next reporter.
So, hello everyone, and now I will be discussing the 1.8 in road signs, which is the uniformity of location. So, signs are normally placed on the right side of the road. However, in certain specified situations, they may be duplicated on the left side or mounted overhead. So, when signs are installed in exposed locations, the use of frangible or breakaway supports or other safety measures should be considered to protect the road users. So, in uniformity of locations of sign is mostly it could be located or naka-placed on the right side of the road. But there are some situations is pwede siya ibutang sa left side or mounted overhead. And with safety supports used in exposed areas is we can protect the road users. And now let's proceed to the 1.8.1, the longitudinal placement. So first is the placement depends on the type and purpose of the sign. So where our sign goes really depends on what it's for. It's either giving a warning, direction, or rule. The second one is advance warning sign must be placed early enough for proper driver reactions. So warning sign need to be put up far enough in advance so drivers have time to react safely. Next is limit to one sign per pass unless messages are related or grouped. It's best to have just one sign per pool unless the signs are clearly connected or part of the same message. The next one is if multiple messages are required, use separate sign space at least 0.6. And then greater spacing needed needed on expressway or high speed roads. So if more than one sign is needed, space them out properly at least 0.6 times the usual driving speed in meters. So signs must not obstruct or distract from each other. It's important that every sign should be clearly visible. So now let's continue in 1.8.2, the lateral placement and height. So applies to permanent and ground mounted road work or the special signs. So lateral distance is from the sign edge to the road. Height is from the underside of the lowest sign. So in this rule it is about how far a sign should be from the edge of the road and how high they should be off the ground. In rural areas, the lateral placement is sign should be at least 600 from road shoulder or the guardrail, and then the placement is 2 meter to 5 meter from edge of traveled way, except the larger expressway signs. And then in terms of height, in general, 1 meter to 1.5 meter above the traveled way. And then in intersection sign, it at least 2 meter. And it let ensure that the visibility and the clearance from vegetation. And B is the urban areas. The lateral placement is on curb roads is 300 to 1 from curve face. On traffic island, minimum at least 500 For uncurved or high-speed road, follow rural clearances. In terms of height, is minimum at least 2 meter above curb to avoid pedestrian obstruction. On medians or the traffic island, follow rural heights, and then in overhanging sign is at least 2 meter to 2.5 above the footway. In 1.9, the overhead signs. So the operational requirements of our highways and expressways are such that overhead signs will have to be provided at many locations. So following conditions should be considered in the erection of overhead sign displays. So first is the traffic volume at or near the capacity. So overhead sign make it easier to guide the large number of drivers. And then in complex or closely spaced interchanges, so if exits and entry ramps are close together or confusing, the overhead sign help drivers make quick, clear decisions. And then next is the 3 or more lanes in each directions. So on wide roads with lots of lanes, it can be hard to know where to go. So sign above each lanes is a big help. And then in terms of restricted sign distance, when drivers can see very far ahead because of curves or other obstacles, overhead signs are easier to spot. And then the multi-lane exits. Without overhead sign, drivers might not know which lane to take. And the next is the large percentage of trucks. So if there are a lot of trucks on the road, smaller ground sign can get blocked, so overhead sign stay visible. So street lighting background, high-speed traffic, consistency of sign messages, locations through a series of interchanges. And lastly, the insufficient space for ground mounted signs. So some place there just isn't enough room beside the road for signs, so putting them above is the best option. So overhead sign are generally of the directional and lane control type are generally supported on cantilever, butterfly, or gantry structures that we can see in chapter 4. In 1.10, the reflectorization and illumination. So signs that are intended to convey message during dark periods need to be reflectorized or illuminated for greater visibility of colors and shapes. So high-grade reflective or illuminated materials shall be required on overhead signs and for road signs in areas with street lighting or high intensity. So it means that signs that need to be seen at night should either glow or reflect light so drivers can spot them clearly, especially on big overhead signs or in areas with bright street lights. And then in 1.10.1, means of illumination. So illuminations may be by means of light within or behind the sign face illuminating the main message or symbols or the sign background or both through a translucent materials. So by putting light inside or behind the sign so that the message or background glows through a see-through surface. And then the next one is an attached or independently mounted light source designed to direct essential illuminations over the entire face of the sign. It means by using a separate light like spotlight, it aimed at the sign to light up the whole front clearly. And then in 1.10.2, means of reflectorization. So the reflectorization is achieved by the use of retroreflective materials on legends, letters, borders, and background of the sign. It means that reflectorization works by using shiny materials on the signs like text, borders, and background that reflect light, like car headlights, so drivers can see the sign clearly at night. So in 1.11, the installation. So signs should be mounted nearly at right angles to the direction of approaching traffic, especially following the traffic path and curves, not just the road edge. So dapat i-install gyud nato ang mga signs sa mga area nga dapat patong butangan. Dili kay magpatakatag butang. So it should be face the direction cars are coming from, especially on curves, so drivers can see them clearly. So to minimize headlight glare, signs should be angled about 5 degrees away from the direct headlight beam. So it's recommended to test sign by driving past them during both daytime and nighttime to ensure visibility and effectiveness. So para ma-minimize daw nato ang headlights from shining too brightly on road signs and making them hard to read, the sign should be turned slightly about 5 degrees. So this helps reduce glare. So it's also a good idea para ma-check na to on how the sign look during the day and at the night by driving past them to make sure they are easy to see. And then in 1.12, the excessive use. So the use of regulatory and warning sign should be restricted the minimum consistent with their particular requirements, as signs tend to lose their effectiveness if used unnecessarily or too frequently. So if we put too many signs, na ay possibility nga ang mga drivers is start to ignore it. So we should only use the sign when they are really needed. So in 1.13, the maintenance. So traffic sign must always be properly positioned, clean and legible. So damaged sign should be promptly replaced. So a regular schedule for inspection, cleaning, and replacement must be in place. So the PWH and other government personnel traveling on highways should report any damaged or obscured signs. So vegetation and construction materials must not obstruct any sign and should be regularly cleared for us to maintain the signages and for us to ensure the safety of all the drivers. In this figure, 1.1, the lateral positioning of roadside signs. So, kanang na-discuss na ko siya ganyan, no, katong mga measurements kung pila ang height, ang placement, at least 2 meter to 5 meter from edge of traveled way, and then on how far a sign should be from the edge of the road, and how high they should be off the ground in rural areas and urban areas. So, makita ninyo diri sa figure, no, kung ang general height is sa rural areas is 1 meter to 1.5 meter above sa traveled way, and then dapat ensure na nga visibility and clear ang atong mga signages, and then so in regulatory signs type R 2.1 in general, this chapter covers the regulatory signs that requires driver compliance and indicate legal obligations such as giving way, speed limits, prohibited movements, and parking control. But there are certain types of regulatory signs and devices that aren't covered in this chapter, specifically the following. So first is the sign that use only on expressways. So these are covered in section 5. So there are discussed separately. And then the second one is the regulatory pavement marking. These are marking painted on the road that tell drivers what to do, like stop lines or lane use arrows. And they are covered in section B, pavement markings. And then in third one, traffic lights. So this is also known as the traffic control signals. They have their own section also. And then note, there are type R sign called special traffic instruction signs that give mandatory instructions or warnings. So these are covered in chapter 6, which is type S signs. So in 2.2, the purpose and applications. So most of the regulatory signs are rectangular in shape with either red or black legend on a generally white background. And then the notable exemption to this are stop signals, which is octagonal. Give way is triangular, and some manually operated banners used in roadworks. So in signs required approval from DPWH secretary or delegated authority for the national roads, and then in local government units is for roads under their jurisdiction, and then must be promptly removed if no longer legally valid, and then some signs indicates the end of illegal restrictions. Example, the speed D restriction sign in R422. So regulations can apply over long distances. Use of repeater signs may be necessary and avoid unnecessary signs where general traffic rules be adequate. And then in 2.3, the location. So in placement of regulatory signs depends on purpose. No fixed locations rule. No specific rules can be applied to exact locations sa regulatory signs as their positions is gavari siya sa iyang purpose sa mga signs, and then it typically installed on the right side of the carriageway near the point of regulatory action. So on wide roads with median islands, signs may be placed on both sides for better visibility, and then in left keep right signs used at physical obstructions such as traffic island or the start of divided roads, and then in pedestrian crossing signs, fluorescent yellow green and then circular, so located at or near marked zebra crossing, parking restriction. In 2.4, the classifications, we have the regulatory signs and its sections. So in this part is the regulatory sign. It tells drivers what they must or must not do. In these rules must always be followed. So first is the priority sign, section 2.6 or the R1. So this sign shows who should go first an intersection. Ang example is ang stop and give way nga sign, which is ang stop, you must stop completely and then give way, slow down, and let others go first. And then direction sign in section 2.7. So these are the signs nga mo iga-control sa direction of traffic. Example is one way, no entry. So it means no entry, you cannot enter the road. And the next is the prohibitive or restrictive signs or R3 section 2.8. So these are the sign nga show what is not allowed. Example is no U-turn, overtaking. So next is the speed signs R4 section 2.9. So kanipod nga sign is shows how fast you can go. So example is the speed limit and speed limit. So next is the parking sign R5 in section 2.10. So familiar I'm going to ng parking, no? Parking sign. So these are sign na tells you where and when you can park. Example, ani nga sign is no parking or time limited parking. And then next is the miscellaneous signs or the R6 section 2.11. So in other signs that gives important rules, example is the weight limit and then the keep left or right. So stay on the side of the road show. In 2.5, the sign sizes. So there are generally four sizes for regulatory sign. First is the size A for urban low-speed roads, size B for rural roads with speed limits between 60 and 70 km per hour, size C for high-speed rural highways or the multi-lane urban roads, and then size D for expressways. And then in 2.6, we have the priority signs or the R1. First is 2.6.1 is the stop. Stop or the R1. So stop is the reflectorized white legend and border reflectorized red background. So familiar mo guro tanong kanang sign na stop. Common na kaila siya nga sign. So in overview, used to ensure caution and require the complete stop before entering intersections. And then it ensures drivers have enough time to assess traffic hazards, and then required by law where full stop is necessary for safety. So as you can see no, sa figure, it shows how to properly place a stop sign. So where a minor road meets a major road. So dapat ang mga drivers is on the minor road must be able to clearly see the traffic coming from both direction on the major road. So to do this, a clear triangle shape or also called a side triangle must be kept free of things like walls. So the distance drivers need to see depends on how fast cars are going on the major road. For example, as you can see sa table, no, they need need to see 20 meters at 40 km per hour and 140 meters at 120 km per hour. So the stop sign should be placed where the driver has a clear view, and if something is blocking the view, it should remove instead of just installing the sign. So in 2.6.2, give way, or the R1 to 2. So black legend, reflectorized red borders, and then reflectorized white background. So as you can see in the table 2.2, it give way sign shows the sign number and its specific sizes in each sign numbers. Now let's continue about the giveaway sign. So it is used where ang giveaway sign is used where traffic control requires modifying the giveaway to the right rule or resolving the traffic stream uncertainly. So the commonly used of giveaway sign is in channelized intersection, median opening on divided roads, roundabouts, one end of short, one lane road sections. Example is one lane bridges, and then should be installed on both sides facing approaching traffic. And then unsealed roads must be supplemented with transverse holding lines indicating safe stopping position. So give way with Filipino translation is used when an explanation in Filipino is necessary. So rectangular in shape, minimum size is the 640 millimeter times 900 millimeter, long axis vertical. So that's all about the giveaway sign.
So, hi, I'm Maria May Bia. So, I'm the next reporter. I'm going to report about 2.6.3 left turner must give way, and 2.10.2 restricted parking and loading sign. So, let's move forward for our first topic, which is 2.6.3 left turner must give way. So, in this sign, it is a rectangular sign taller than its wide. So it has sizes at least 500 mm wide and 750 mm tall. So it has a background of a white and reflective so that visible siya sa gabi. So ang letters and borders niya kay color black. So ang pasabot ani nga sign kay it tells sa mga driver nga kung kinsay gusto mag left turn kay sa intersection that they let others vehicles to pass first. So if mo turn sila sa left, dapat ila gyud tong unahon ang mga drivers nga mo kuan bitaw mo dili mo left. So like especially sa mga mag straight lang agi or ilang agi sa pag-drive, and kani siya ginagamit ni siya sa signalized intersection where vehicles are allowed to turn left during gaps in traffic or not on a separate green arrow. So ang kana sa table makita ninyo kay naay turner kana nga text kay it uses 80 DN, or ang DN kay designated narrow, and other text uses 80 AN. Ang AN is engineering normal. So next is 2.7 directional signs na siya ay duha ka subtopics. Ang first nga topics niya is 2.7.1, which is direction to be followed, or R2 to 1 to R2 to 7. So na siya ay duha ka type, which is ang first type niya is this type. Kani siya nga type is reflectorized blue background, reflectorized white arrow, as you can see in the picture, no, kana siya. So kani siya, iyang shape ani is circle and iyang color is blue background or reflective for gabi para makita, and white arrow showing the required direction. So ang kanapod sa table makita ninyo dira na ay mga examples dira, no, which is kanang R2 to 1 kana siya is straight ahead only, R2 to 2 turn left only, R2 to 3 kani siya is turn right only, R2 to 4 slight turn to the right, R2 to 5 slight turn to the left, R2 to 6 left or right only, R2 to 7 is straight left or right. And kani siya nga mga sizes usually between 450 mm to 750 mm diameter. So, next nga type is plate type na siya black legend, reflectorized white background on plate, reflectorized blue background on disc, reflectorized white arrow symbols. So kani nga type is blue disc symbol nga naka-place sa white rectangular plate with black text. Kana dira makita ninyo ang left turner only no besides sa blue arrow no. So kani siya ginagamit ni siya sa urban areas, especially sa at channelized intersections or with islands, separating lines. And makita po nimo siya sa busy intersections where extra guidance is needed. So ang text ani niya yung font size pod kay 80dn o kani 80en ang ginagamit ani. So, unsay mga purpose ani no? Ang purpose ani sa mga signs is used to guide traffic safely and para ma-prevent ang confusion sa mga driver. So, also they show sa mga drivers nga kani nga direction only are allowed to take on that road or lane. So also po, maka-helps ni siya to reduce accidents and improves traffic flow. Next is these signs indicates the only direction in which the motorized is obliged to follow. They are normally used in conjunction with islands at channelized intersection. So, kani nga mga sign is indicate only sa motorized, no? Nga dapat ila jud nang i-follow and mandatory na siya sa mga motorized. Pero not optional. So, kani siya kay ginagamit ni siya mainly sa urban areas, often near traffic islands or intersections. So, para maka-ensure nga smooth and safe ang traffic flow. So kani nga mga sign kay makita nimo sa picture nga blue circles with white arrows. Sometimes ni siya kay rectangular ni siya plates with added text for clarity para makita gyud sa mga ka-drive no. So makita ninyo sa picture na dira is kanang R221P kanang no turn, kani siya kay no turning in any direction, dapat mag-straight lang. Kaning isa is one way, traffic flows in one direction only. Keep right, kani siya is stay to the right of an islands or obstructions. And kaning all traffic, ang pasabot ani kay all vehicles must follow a specific direction. And lastly, kanang merging traffic, kanang another traffic stream is joining or merge carefully. So next is 2.7.2 other directional signs na siya duwa ka buok. So ang first kay two-way R2 to 7. Kani siya is black legend, arrows and border. Napo siya reflectorized white background. So as you can see in the picture kanang the two-way sign is used to show that vehicles can travel in both direction on a road. It should be placed when naidwa di kabuok, a road that usually one way is being used for two-way traffic or permanently or temporary daw. So, road condition make it unclear whether traffic flows is one or both directions. So, kani mga sign is must be placed after every intersection along that two-way road. And also if one-way street becomes two-way, extra sign should be placed before each intersection in warn incoming traffic or para kani siya kay dapat gyud ibutang ba or magbutang yung extra sign para in awareness advance sa mga drivers. So, ang second one is left must turn left and right must turn right. So R2 to 2 to 8. Kani siya is black back legend and border reflectorized white background. So kaning the left line must turn left and the right line must turn right kay ginagamit ni siya to guide vehicles in each line. So pasabot ani is cars in left line can only turn left and kanang cars nga naa sa right kay can turn right only. So kani siya is makatabang ni siya to manage traffic flow at intersection and avoids confusions about asa sila nga line dapit or asa sila na line maggamit ang mga drivers. So kani nga sign is used to specific line only for turning lang sa left or right at next intersection. So next is 2.8 na diri ang prohibitive or restrictive signs. Na siya ay 5 ka subtopics. So ang first nga subtopics which is 2.8.1 kay ning no entry for all vehicles or R2 to 3 to 1 and R2 to 3 to 1P. So na siya reflectorized red disc symbol, reflectorized white bar, reflectorized white plate background, for R3 to 1P only, black legend and border to for R3 to 1P only. So kani nga sign kaning no entry for all vehicles, no? Kani siya ginapasabot ani sa mga drivers nga no vehicles are allowed to enter a certain road or area. So kani siya nga sign kay usually placed sa beginnings of one-way streets or roads nga nag-close bitaw and na-close ang all traffic. So ang kaning red disc with white bar kay kani siya nga symbol kay pasabot ani is do not enter. Kay makita niyo sa picture, no. So for the R3 to 1P version, kani siya nga sign kay gi-includes words and uses a white background with black text and border. Para kani siya nga message kay to make it clearer bitaw sa mga drivers. So kani nga sign is makatabang ni siya to control traffic flow and ma-prevent niya ang mga vehicles nga musulod ana or nga lane sa or kanang ma-prevent niya if kanang basing wrong direction sila ba. So para dili sila ma-wrong direction, so that's why mao na siya ang pasabot sa mga sign. Para po dili siya maka-cause of accident or traffic problems sa dalan. So kanang no entry sign is use black vehicles for entering one-way road from the wrong direction. So kani siya kay place dapat niya sa both sides of the road at the exit point facing incoming traffic. So kani if there's a chance nga mga drivers nga ma-confuse sila, so kana nga sign is ma-place siya slightly inside the road para makita nila or mabasa nila clearly. So next is 2.8.2 kaning no entry for specific type of road users or R2 to 3 to R2 to 12. So na siya reflectorized red border and bar, reflectorized white background and black symbol. Makita niyo sa picture, no? Kani siya nga sign is no entry for specific types of roads users. So kani siya is sign nga naga-show nga dili allowed to enter ang mga kani siya nga ginabawal diri sa sign. Sa each sign ana is na diri ang dili mo sulod ang dili mo entry ang cars, jeepneys, vehicles, motorcycles, tricycles, buses, trucks, vehicles with trailers, and etc. So as you can see in that picture. So next is 2.8.3 kaning pedestrian prohibition signs or R2 to 3 to 10P 1 and R2 to 3 10P2. So kani dire the no pedestrian crossing sign is R2 to 3 to 10 can be used in conjunction with a supplementary plate in the special instruction sign, such as use overpass kana S1 to 1. Makita ninyo dira no? Or use fencing ana S1 to 2, or alternative use R3 to 10P1 or R3 to 10P2. So kani nga sign is ginapasabot sa mga tao or sa mulabang nga dili siya mo tabok kana nga dalan or street or area. Instead, dapat magamit sila og pedestrian overpass. And kani nga sign is gina-show sa mga tao nga if magwalk lang with a red line crossing them out. And kanang words like use overpass or use fencing. Kani siya, ma-place ni siya to have a safe crossing options nearby para iwas disgrasya bitaw. So, next is 2.8.4 kaning bawal tumawid gamitin ang overpass or R223 to 10P3. So, makita ninyo no, this is a Filipino word sign alternative sa R3 to 10P1 nga exclusively for prohibiting pedestrian from crossing a particular road with the presence of an overpass. This sign shall be rectangular in shape and nasa sizes nga 300 mm by 350 mm, no? Nga long axis vertical. So they shall have reflectorized white background, reflectorized red border, and letters for prohibited message. So next is 2.8.5, turning prohibition R2 to 3 to 13, R2 to 3 to 14, R2 to 3 to 15. Siya, makita niyo dira is reflectorized red border and bar, reflectorized white background. So, the no right turner or no left turner sign shall be used at intersection where vehicles are forbidden to make a turn to the right or left respectively. Kanang the no U-turn sign kay ginagamit siya sa vehicles are forbidden to make turn to reverse direction of travel. Ang separate plates bearing message such as for PUGs, for PUBs, or for trucks and others. Kani siya ginagamit ni siya to supplement the message intended, such as plates will be of white reflectorized background with black legend. And kani siya nga mga sign usually gyud nga ginagamit ni siya to manage traffic flow. And kani nga sign nga naga-shows ang mga arrows with white red slash to tell nga ang drivers kay di jud siya maka-make og U-turn or dili siya maka basta-basta makaliko. So next is 2.8.6, prohibition of overtaking R2 to 3 to 16. Na siya reflectorized red border and bar, reflectorized white background, black symbol on right and red symbol on left. So kaning the no overtaking sign may be used to supplement the double yellow lane, making in forbidding overtaking and no overtaking zone. So kani nga sign is used on narrow roads or bridges nga na siya less than 5 meters wide or under 5.5 meters. So kani siya if many trucks or buses nga magamit sa road or the road has sharp curves or poor alignment. So, makita nyo sa picture nga, this sign nga ginatel sa drivers nga dili siya mag-overtake or pass other vehicles, no? So, para ma-avoid pod ang accidents, especially in dangerous spot like narrow roads or nga less than 5.0 meters or sa bridges or sharp curves or poor road alignment. So, kanang gi-include po diri ang words nga bawal lumusot para sa mga Filipino nga bitaw para makasabot gyud nga dili gyud mag-overtake. So, next is 2.9 kaning speed signs or R2 to 4 na siya duwa ka subtopics. Ang first is 2.9.1 speed restrictions or maximum or R4 to 1. Na siya black numerals, reflectorized red annular symbol, reflectorized white background. So, makita niyo sa picture, no, kaning this group of sign ginapasabot sa mga drivers nga maximum speed limit ra gyud kana ra siya nga maximum speed limit kanang 60 or 100 ang gina-allow dira nga dalan or diya ka magpakusog. So kani nga mga numbers, size and signs, diameter can very depending sa location or visibility nga needed sa road. So kani siya nga sign is makatabang ni siya sa traffic flow safely by reminding drivers dili jud magpakusog og dagan. So next is 2.9.2 speed restriction kaning R4 to 2 and R4 to 2P. Na siya black diagonal bar and annular symbol, reflectorized white background. No? Kani nga sign nga gina-indicates that previous speed limit is no longer effect. And kanang makita niyo dira nga R4 to 2 kani sa nga sign kay naay black diagonal bar over a white background inside a circle. Ginapasabot gani kay end of speed limit na siya. And kaning R4 to 2P kaning sign kay word end with the old speed limit below, example end 60 kana, making it even clearer. So kaning nga sign is pasabot ani is they can now follow the difficult road speed limits unless another sign nga nag-ingon sila nga pwede dili na or pwede kani dili may sundon nga bitaw. Next dayon is kanang 2.9.3 kanang speed restriction or minimum R4 to 3 kana siya reflectorized blue background, reflectorized white numeral and legend na sa this size which is 900 mm diameter and numeral size nga 320 dn. So kani siya kay the minimum speed restriction sign is used exclusively on suitable section of expressways only. So kani siya is minimum siya nga speed if moagi ka sa mga expressway nga dalan. So na siya blue circle with white numbers nga na words minimum or mean kada makita din mo dira sa picture. And kani siya ginapatabangan niya mga drivers ani para mag-avoid nga maghinay ra ana nga dagan or kanang para dili siya maka-cause of danger bitaw sa if magpakusog ka dira nga expressways. So next na tay 2.10 na siya parking signs na siya duha ka subtopics, no, pero diri sa ta sa mga parking signs. So na ay wording depends on local traffic rules. Sign should be on separate post, but if multiple rules apply in one spot, use one combined sign when possible. Next is use simple words and clear abbreviation for easy reading. Next is if rules apply only at certain times, those times must be shown. Next is if parking requires a specific method, it should be written or shown with a symbol. And lastly, arrow showing where rules apply should be small to avoid confusion with traffic direction sign. So next is 2.10.1 no parking signs or R225 to 1 or R225 to 2 and R225 to 3. Na siya black letter P and reflectorized red annular symbols and bar. Reflectorized red legend and red arrow as you can see, no. So nadiri ang no parking signs are used at locations where partial or total parking is prohibited. The no parking this can be used in conjunction with other legend plates for additional information. So kani nga sign is ginapasabot yun nga parking is not allowed or dili ka pwede mo park dira. So nadira na ay sign dira nga with black letter P nga cross out. Some versions kay gaad og bawal pumarada or loading area only. No? Variations show additional info like no parking, anytime, or two-way zone. And kani nga sign kay ginagamitan og red reflective borders and symbols with some using red arrows for direction. Para kani siya nga mga sign is para ma-prevent ang traffic blockages and makip niya ang road nga hand-eye or safe. Lastly is 2.10.2 kaning restricted parking and loading sign R22524, R22524A, R22524B, R22524C. So kani siya makita niyo diri kay restricted parking sign are rectangular, usually at least 450 mm by 750 mm in size with the longer side vertical. So they have a reflective white background, a green border, and display message like 2 hours parking, meter parking, or loading and unloading zone. Kani nga loading zone sign is often ginagamit siya together with no parking this or and kani nga sign is doesn't need to be reflective unless street lighting is poor or the message is important at night. So, loading and unloading zone signs are placed where passengers or goods are picked up or drop off. So, and should be installed at least 30 meters before and after intersection. So, kani makita naman yun sa picture, no, mo na siyang rectangular white sign with green text. So kani siya makatabang ni siya ang sign to make it clear who can park and when they can park and for how long can they park. And that's it for my part. Thank you for listening.
So for 2.10.3, the no waiting signs. The no waiting sign shall be rectangular in shape and not less than 450 by 750 mm in size with the long axis vertical. They shall have reflectorized white background, reflectorized red borderline, and legends for prohibitive messages and time for restriction. Next is the no loading and unloading signs. The no loading and unloading signs shall be rectangular in shape, 450 and 750 mm in size with long axis vertical. They also have reflectorized white background, reflectorized red border, and legend for prohibitive messages and times for restriction. These signs are used exclusively for prohibiting loading and unloading of goods and passengers. Left and right arrows should be drawn at the bottom of the road sign. So for 2.10.5, the non-loading and loading within red painted curve sign. So this sign shall be rectangular in shape and not less than 450 and 750 mm in size with the long axis vertical. They shall have reflectorized red letters and borders on white reflectorized background. These signs shall be erected at locations to supplement pavement markings to prohibit loading and unloading activities. Next is 2.10.6, the no stopping anytime sign. So this sign shall be rectangular in shape and not less than 450 and 750 mm in size with long axis vertical. They shall have reflectorized white background, reflectorized red border line and symbol, red letters, and reflectorized red arrow and bar for prohibitive messages and times for restriction. So for 2.10.7, the no parking or stopping signs for PUV stop area. So these signs are used to regulate loading and unloading areas for public utility vehicles or the PUVs. So R5 9A or the bus stop for bus passenger loading and unloading only must be at least 400 by 900 mm in size, including in no parking symbol to prohibit all parking. Next is the PUJ stop or for jeepney passenger loading and unloading only Same size and no parking rule as the bus stop sign. Next is for the bus and PUJ stop. For both bus and jeepney loading and unloading also follows the same size and no parking policy. All signs are rectangular with reflectorized black text, red symbols, and red borders, ensuring visibility and proper regulation of passenger zones. Next is the 2.10.8, the do not block intersection sign. So this sign shall be rectangular in shape and not less than 400 by 600 mm in size with the long axis vertical. It shall have the black letters on white reflectorized background and reflectorized yellow legend on black reflectorized background. These signs are used at intersections, particularly at signalized locations where yellow box lane markings have been provided. This should be installed at or near the designated stop line in the intersection to warn motorized of clearing the yellow box zone. Next is the 2.10.9 right turners cross at broken white lines sign. So this sign shall be rectangular in shape and not less than 450 and 600 mm in size. They shall have the black letters and border on white reflectors background. These signs shall be used alongside broken white line markings at bus lane, which allows vehicles to turn right at the next intersection. So for the miscellaneous signs, signs covered in this series are not included in other categories. So for the 2.11.1, prohibition on use of audible warning device or the no blowing of horn sign. So this sign is reflectorized red annular border and bar, black symbol and reflectorized white background. Use of audible warning device is prohibited where this sign is used except to avoid an accident or those vehicles that are unauthorized to use warning devices in case of emergency. So for the 2.11.2, the load and dimension restriction signs. So you can see here the table, sign number and the size and the numerals. So for the sign R62 shall be used to prohibit entry for vehicles having overall width exceeding the dimension shown. Next is the R63 shall be used to prohibit entry for vehicles having overall height exceeding the dimension shown. And for the R64 shall be used to indicate the maximum permitted gross load in tons on any section of the road and shall be erected on the immediate approaches to the restricted section. Next is the R65. This shall be used to prohibit entry of vehicles with gross axial load exceeding the limits shown. And for the R66 shall be used to prohibit entry of vehicles with overall length exceeding the limits shown. So for the 2.11.3, the use seatbelt sign, you can see here the table 2.17, the sign number, the size in millimeter, symbol and legend. The use seatbelt signs are used pursuant to RA 8750, the seatbelt law. Next is the 2.11.4, the pedestrians crossing sign. So this sign has the black symbol and border circular disc and reflectorized fluorescent yellow-green background. You can also see here the table 2.18, the sign number and the size of the diameter in mm. Unlike the pedestrian warning sign, which is placed in advance in accordance with appropriate distance recommended, R68 is regulatory sign to be placed at the stop lines or at the approaches to a zebra pedestrian crossing. So for the 2.11.5, the school children crossing, the R69 sign, so it has the black symbol, legend and border, a reflectorized fluorescent yellow-green background. So you can see here the table. And unlike the children's warning sign, so which is placed in advance in accordance with the distance recommended. So for the 2.11.6, the bike lane or the R610 sign, so it also have the black symbol, legend and border, and reflectorized fluorescent yellow-green background. You can also see here the table, the sign number, and the size of the diameter in millimeter. The bike lane sign is used where a stretch of roadway is dedicated to a bike lane for bicycle use only and to protect cyclists who may not be perceptible to motorists. This is a regulatory sign and requires cyclists to use the bike lane only. So for the 2.11.7, the wheelchair crossing sign or the R611 sign, so it also have the black symbol, legend border, reflectorized fluorescent yellow-green background. This sign is a regulatory sign to be placed at the stop lines on the approaches to a marked wheelchair ramp near or at intersections, buildings, hospitals, parks, malls, and other public places. So for the application of warning signs are used to warn motorists of potential hazardous conditions on or adjacent to the road. The warning signs advise motorists of road conditions that requires caution and may call for a reduction in speed in the interest of safety and that of the other road users. Warning signs tend to lose their effectiveness if used unnecessarily or too frequently. Their use should be restricted to the minimum consistent with safety. A warning sign should not be used when drivers can observe and appreciate the potential hazard ahead under normal conditions. The particular signs to be applied to specific conditions shall be selected in accordance with the criteria set out in the section. The standard warning signs listed in this manual cover most conditions are likely to be met. The others warning signs are needed. The sign shall be the standard shape and color for the warning signs, and the symbol and use must be self-explanatory. To avoid ambiguity, supplementary messages can sometimes be used. Some of the commonly used messages are also listed in this category under the auxiliary series. So the classification of warning signs. So horizontal alignment signs is in section 3.5. Intersection and junction signs is in 3.6. Advanced warning of traffic control device signs is in section 3.7. Road width signs, section 3.8. Road obstacle signs, section 3.9. Pedestrian signs, section 3.10. Railway level crossing, section 3.11. Supplementary signs, section 3.12, and other warning signs is in section 3.13. So, warning signs at the road construction and maintenance sites are separately dealt with in the roadwork safety manual.
So for section 3.3 discusses the design requirements for warning signs. So when selecting a sign for a specific purpose, a standard sign must be used whenever it is applicable. However, if none of the standard signs are suitable for the conditions encountered, a specially designed sign may be used, provided it adheres to the same design principles as those of the standard signs within the appropriate classification. So in general, warning signs are in triangular shape with one angle oriented vertically. These signs typically feature a black symbol, a reflectorized red border, and a retroreflective white or fluorescent yellow-green background. While this is the general standard, there are specified exceptions indicated elsewhere in the manual. So the appropriate size of a warning sign is influenced by several factors, including the traffic volumes, vehicle speeds, prevailing road conditions, and background lighting. In situation requires greater visual impact or emphasis, larger larger signs should be utilized along with proportionally larger symbol or legends. So the minimum size length for equilateral triangular signs shall not be less than 600 millimeters, or on high-speed expressways, larger signs up to 1,200 millimeters are commonly adopted. In certain cases, signs with non-standard shapes may be sized to provide
comparable visibility, and warning. Example of such special signs can be found in chapter 6 of this book.
Good day, everyone. I am Maria Loela Malait, and I will continue the reporting about the road signs. So, I'm gonna talk about the intersection and junction signs. So, these signs are intended to prepare drivers for intersections or junctions that may not be immediately visible or are complex in layout. So, they are not to be used when intersections are already controlled by stop signs, giveaway signs, or traffic signals. So, kaning picture nga nakita niyo sa screen karon is the signs or are the signs sa intersection and junction, and then indicated here are the sign numbers and then the sizes of these signs. So these are the parts of the road signs. First is the crossroad. So it indicates a standard crossroad intersection on a main road, and then the other crossroads, so it shows more specific layouts of intersecting roads. So ginagatagaan niya ang driver, giving drivers a clear idea of what kind of junction to expect ahead. The T and Y junctions. So the first is the T junction. Kani kita ninyo. So ginawarn niya ang driver nga ang sunod or ang end or ang sunod nga sunod nga road nga iyang padulngan is pa T-shape siya. And then ang Y junction sign is kung ang kasunod niya nga road is pa split or pa Y shape siya. And then sa side road junction, so ginagamit siya when a side road connects to the main road at an angle or when that side road carries a noticeable amount of traffic. So gina-alert niya ang driver nga magtan-aw jud kung unsa nga vehicle or kung pasulod ba siya or patabok siya. And then the roundabouts. So roundabout sign kay placed at all roundabout approaches. So unless a diagram sign is already in place. And then the priority road. So gina-inform niya ang driver that the intersecting roads are controlled and they have the right of way. So kanang mga priority roads, no, kanang naay mga stop or giveaway signs. And then about the advanced warning of traffic control device signs. First is the signals ahead. So used when traffic signals are not visible from at least 120 meters or are unexpectedly located. So a variant W3D, W31D is used on expressways or other high speed roads. So the signal icons or signal symbols or the kung atong specific og ingon is kanang red, yellow, green, so dapat must be reflected or visible gid siya for better visibility. And then the stop and give way sign ahead, used to alert drivers of an upcoming stop or give way sign that may be hard to see. So this may include arrows to indicate the direction of the intersection. So kung pa-stop ba siya, dapat indicated ang signs ani niya. Give way sign ni siya, stop and give way sign ahead.
So for next sign, we have divided road or W14-3. This warns the drivers that the road ahead is divided by a median island, usually for more than 300 meters. So for the next sign, we have N divided road or W14-4. This indicates the end of a divided road, mostly two-way, and the traffic resumes ahead. So for road obstacle signs or W5, this warns the drivers of unexpected road features like bumps, dips, slippery surfaces, or obstacles. So as we can see, there are various types of road obstacle signs. Their corresponding signs number and their standard plate sizes in millimeters. So for the signs, it describes the type of road obstacles or conditions. For example, an uneven road, hump, steep descent. For the sign number, this specific code assigned to each sign. This helps in identification and standardization. So last row, we have size in millimeter. The dimensions of the sign plate in millimeter, indicating how large the sign should be for visibility depending on the location or importance. So for the example of the table, for example, we have opening bridge. Ang sign number is W5-1B and W5-1C. And iyang sizes is 600 mm and 750 mm, meaning warns the motorist that a bridge ahead may open for boats and masira. So wala man taa na sa Philippines. So mostly makita ni sa other countries. So for the next sign, which is the opening bridge, this warns that a bridge ahead may open, so vehicles must stop when needed. Next, we have uneven road or W5-2, known as an uneven road. It alerts the drivers to bumps or dips in the road that could affect control. Next sign, we have W5-4, or known as a steep descent. These signs warns of a downhill slope. Drivers, especially truck, should use low gear. Next sign, we have W5-5, steep climb. Indicates a steep uphill, vehicles may need more power to climb. For example, sa mga bukid-bukid, bukidnon, mga places na grabe kataas and need you more power to climb. That depends sa imong sakyanan. So, for W5-6, we have spillway. This warns of a section where water flows over the road, especially in rainy seasons. Mostly makita man ni sa bridges, like sa para naman ingani. So next slide, we have W5-7, or it indicates flood, used to warn of flood prone areas that collect water during wet season. So for next slide, next sign, we have W5-8, or falling rocks. Cautions drivers about loose rocks or landslides on or the near road. Makita nani example na makita nato dito sa uptown, or last nga akong nakita is maybe sa Pabukidnon, since pataas man jud to, and usually na siya support nga net but na jud siya huge signs for this, ang falling rocks. So for next sign, we have W5-9, or slippery road. This indicates that the road may be slippery, especially when wet or frosty. So in Philippines, majority wala man jud tayo snow. Majority ang rains lang jud ang makakos sa slippery road. So money. So for next sign, we have W5-10 or animal crossing. Warns that animals may cross the road, commonly used in rural areas. So next, we have W5-11 or sign of aircraft. Alerts that the aircraft may fly low over the road near airports or airfields. So for the next sign, we have the pedestrian and school signs or W6. This means that the pedestrian and school signs have been included to replace the traditional triangle warning signs for pedestrians, school children, handicapped person, and bicycle user. This sign will have different shapes and fluorescent yellow-green background to provide more visibility of these dates. So as you can see that the elements of signs and sizes are shown as follows. This explains the purpose and importance of the figure. So pedestrians are schools and school signs are essential components of traffic control used to protect vulnerable road users like pedestrians, children, disabled persons, and cyclists. They enhance the visibility with fluorescent yellow-green background. So for W6 types and usage, as you can see in the figure, we have pedestrian crossing ahead or the code of W6-1B and W6-1C. The purpose of this, it warns the motorist of pedestrians crossing ahead. So for next sign, we have slow down pedestrian sing ahead or the code of this is W6-1P. And the purpose of these signs is it gives a stronger warning to slow down for pedestrian. So the next sign we have is children crossing. We have the code of W6-2B and W6-2C. It alerts the drivers to the presence of school children. So for next sign, we have cross only at pedsing, or the code for this is W6-3. The purpose of this sign is to inform pedestrians to cross only at marked crossings.
Good day everyone, I am Jane Kaltitaytay, and to continue with the topic about warning signs, we have the last two signs related to pedestrians and school signs. We have the wheelchair crossing sign, the W6-4. This sign warns driver that they are approaching an area where people in wheelchair may be crossing. These are commonly seen near hospitals, rehab centers, and shopping centers where accessibility is vital. Seeing this sign prompt drivers to slow down and be alert. And lastly, we have the bike lane ahead sign, the W6-5. This warns motorists that there is an upcoming bike lane which might not be immediately visible. This helps protect cyclists by alerting drivers early, especially in areas with curves or obstructions. This should be placed at a good distance before the bike lane begins. Now let's talk about railway level crossing signs. Here you can see railroad crossing position sign, the W7-1. These signs are always used where a road crosses a railway at the same level. They are combined with stop or give way signs or even with gates. It is very similar with the W7-4, which is an alternative version that's more noticeable, usually used when more visibility is needed, for example, in areas with poor lighting or busy traffic. So the W7-1 is very similar with the W7-4, which I will be discussing in the following slide. The only difference with the two is that the W7-4 have a red background. These next signs are used before reaching the actual railway crossing. The W7-2 sign is used where the railway doesn't have signal control, while the W7-3 is for crossings with signal control. If the crossing is on side road, the sign is placed on the main road and supported with on-side road sign, which is the W8-2. Here we can see the sizes of the railway crossing advance warning signs. Sizes vary depending on road classification. Bigger signs are used on national highways for visibility. And last sign for the railway level crossing position signs, the alternative railway crossing sign. This is the one similar to W7-1. This is the W7-4. It's used for increased visibility, especially in rural or dimly lit areas. It's larger than usual, 700 mm by 900 mm minimum, and it uses a red background for higher contrast. Now let's move on to supplementary signs marked as W8. These signs cannot be installed alone. They're only used below warning signs to provide additional information such as speed limits, distances, or specific conditions. Notice that they all use black text on white background and must be mounted on the same post as the main sign. So we can see here in the table the different supplementary signs, which we will discuss in the following slides together with their sign numbers and sizes. This is the advisory speed sign, the W8-1. It gives the recommended speed under good conditions and is only used with a warning sign, like those for curves, humps, or uneven roads. And next, on side road sign, the W8-2. It supports the other signs such as railway crossing or flood warnings by indicating that the hazard is located on a side road, not directly ahead. Here we have signs showing distance to a hazard. Sign W8-3 shows distance in meters. Sign W8-4 shows kilometers. And W8-4A, which says next blank m, tells us how long the hazard extends. And here's the when wet sign, the W8-5. This is used with the slippery road sign and tells drivers that the danger applies only when the road is wet, like after rain. These supplementary signs reflect vulnerable pedestrian zones. The sign W8-6 to W8-10 includes blind, aged, playground, school, and disabled. They're used with pedestrian sign W6-1 and children crossing W6-2 signs. Seeing these should pump extra caution, for example, slowing down near schools or residential areas. These signs W8-11A and W8-11B says whether a no-turn restriction applies only to PUGs or buses. So if you see a no U-turn sign with a 4 PUG plate, it means only jeepneys are restricted. This helps regulate public transport movements without unnecessarily limiting all vehicles. Now let's move to height warnings. The vertical clearance sign, the W9-1A or B, indicate how much clearance is under a bridge or overpass. Clearance X.XM is for heights above 4.80 meter, and low clearance is for those 4.80 meter or lower. This prevents accidents involving tall vehicles like truck or buses. The measurement is taken from highest flood level, not just the road surface. This sign says slow down accident-prone area. The sign W9-2A or in Filipino, bumagal, madalas ang aksidente dito. Sign W9-2B. It's used temporarily in areas where many accidents happen, like sharp curves or blind spots, until engineering improvements are made. It's a reminder to drive cautiously and expect the unexpected in those areas or zones. This sign, slow down merging traffic ahead, sign W9-3, warns driver on high-speed roads about cars entering from ramps. Next is lane ends merge left, sign W9-4, alerting drivers to a lane drop ahead so they can safely merge. These are crucial on expressways where sudden merges can lead to collisions. Our last warning sign is the sign W9-5, slow down weighbridge ahead. This warns of a weighbridge station, usually for trucks, to ensure they are within weight limits. These signs help slow down heavy vehicles for safety and legal compliance. And that concludes our discussion on road signs, regulatory signs, and warning signs. As you've seen, each sign has specific purpose to warn, guide, or inform drivers to promote safe and organized traffic flow. Thank you for watching.